everyone. Ful-on, your Fulham centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Today, we're here to discuss yesterday's 1-1 draw with Man United, a game, as much of a breakdown as we can. We'll talk about the game and we'll talk about some of the more contentious issues that happened during it, shall we say. We will try this below half an hour. So, you have to bear with us if we do start ranting about certain things that happened, but there was a lot of contentious moments yesterday, so we'll deal with that. Before we do that, let's say hello to everyone. Morning, Drew. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, my friend. Good to see you all.
Matt, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Ready for another fun day of Fulham talk.
AJ, how you doing, mate?
Keeping on, my friends. Keeping on.
Yeah, mate. And Kyle, how you doing?
I'm all good, thank you, mate. Can't wait to get into this one. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I think that results-wise yesterday, probably a fair result, a 1-1 draw, considering the sort of the flow of the game. But there were a few moments in the game that were a bit frustrating. Let's look at this starting lineup. AJ, I know I ask you this one all the time, but we spoke about this squad and what we potentially were going to see pre-game. And I think second week in a row, we as a collective, we were pretty spot on with what we were expecting as a starting 11 for Fulham. What did you think? Were you happy with it? Was it, did it work?
Well, I wasn't sure Cesc was going to be fit, so I couldn't really have predicted that one. But I did manage to predict Castagna. I did not manage to predict Castagna at right wing. And anyone that did do that, I suggest they go and buy some lottery numbers, because that was the most ridiculous call I've ever seen, frankly. Outside of that, it was a very expected lineup. Cesc is still not a left back, but we'll get into that. But all in all, yeah, it was quite a expected squad, and I think they did well.
Yeah, I think so, Drew. Without going too much into the penalty incident and the goal incident, because we'll come back and we'll talk about the referee and the performance yesterday. We briefly spoke about it in our quick take after the game yesterday. But how happy were you with the performance? How happy were you with some of the performances for some of the players were really good yesterday. But how do you feel about it as a team?
You can't criticise them. I mean, they hung in there, especially after the first 20 minutes when United were getting through and it was looking like it was going to be a really long day. But the game went longer. They got stronger. Substitutes had a great impact. It's a. I mean, we'll, like you said, we'll get into some of the specifics, but it was nice to talk about a game against United at the Cottage where we're talking about something positive in terms of results. That's the first time, that's the first point we've taken from them in 27 available at the Cottage. I mean, that's quite significant. But yeah, I was really pleased with the team. I mean, they really stuck to it. They really worked hard. So, I echo Jay's comments, because in the first half, Castagna was right near me, and I just could not see that in any way, shape, or form. I was trying to work out what was going on there. I thought it was a bit of a joke, but it was actually real, because he started on the right and he stayed there. But no, I mean they were good, and the longer it went on, like I said, the stronger they got. So yeah, happy, very happy.
Yeah, Matt. Yesterday we saw another tale of substitutes from Fulham. That we moaned quite a lot at the beginning of last season that Marco Silva's substitutions were a bit confusing at times. But yesterday, almost every sub he made was spot on. Very attacking substitutions were made. Maybe taking Josh King off as early as he did might be the one that some people question. But it's good to see that we have an ability to change a game up from the bench, as proven by the fact that I think we've now scored 19 goals since the beginning of last season from substitutions. But how do you feel about the bench, considering the fact we probably are a bit light still on players?
I agree with you that we're light on players on the bench, but I think with what we have on the bench at the minute, as a full bench without any injuries, it's got the room to make a difference in what we needed to. Like yesterday, every single sub I reckon was tactical, was to completely put United off their game. Like bringing Josh King off early, it could be to protect him for future games. It could have been just tactical, but I'm quite happy with what we've got on bench. We could do, don't get me wrong, we could do with some more, but at this moment in time, I am happy with it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair comment, isn't it, when you think about some of the things that happened. Kyle, yesterday, Muniz had a bit of a bad game. I think he probably one of the only players that he looked a bit lost when he was on, and I think that was proven more by the fact that one of the first things that Rail does in the game is create a bit of open space that you know Emil Smith Rowe manages to run onto and score a goal. We know that we're going to see an awful lot of chopping and changing with Muniz and with Rail this season. How do you think that will play out, considering the fact that, are we just going to see games where almost every other game they're going to swap over? One's going to be the starter, one's going to be the finisher. As much as I hate using the term finisher, but modern football, that is what they do. What are you expecting from them?
Well, first of all, obviously, Muniz was my player to watch this game. And yeah, there wasn't much to watch of him. But I don't know, it's a hard one because last season they both performed very well. I don't know if there's a way that we can try a game where we can play them both together to see if it works. But I think going forward, it is just going to be swap and change, like you say. One starts a game, one comes on as a sub. But like you said yesterday, Muniz didn't really do much. Raul come on and assisted the goal for the boy Smith Rowe. First goal of the season. Top goal.
Yeah, look, let's get on. Let's talk about, some of the more controversial moments in the game because it sort of leads on to the goals and how the game pans out. And I'm trying very hard not to just start a rant about a referee that all of us are really concerned about refereeing this game in the first place. Chris Kavanagh, as a ref, has had 3 or 4 really shocking performances while refereeing Fulham games since the incident at Old Trafford. To put him in charge of a Fulham Man United game again is probably ridiculous. Yesterday, he proved on many occasions that, other than the talking point, which is him accidentally barging Bruno Fernandes, they're both walking and not looking at each other. If you're a Man United fan or most of the media, that's all they're talking about. When in truth, he made some really contentious calls during the game yesterday that were frustrating, to say the least, while watching. Let's talk about the penalty. AJ, we're not going to show the images or the video or anything, obviously for copyright reasons, but I do urge everyone to go and look at it. Break it down for me, mate. How do you explain to me how Mason Mount's being fouled by Calvin Bassey, but Muniz isn't being fouled by Luke Shaw, and one's worse than the other? One's a foul, one's not. How is it possible that this decision that they've come to?
Ultimately, there isn't one or an explanation for the mismatch in decision making. Bassey, the Bassey situation with Mason Mount, unfortunately, under the modern ruling and the fact that they are now looking at these more this season, is a penalty in my eyes. It's annoying. It's even more annoying that the first time this season that this has been looked at, that it's happened to us, which is very typical of Fulham. But under what they're looking at and what they've said they're going to look at this season, that is a penalty, which means on the other end of the pitch that it should have been disallowed when he was pushed in the back, and probably should have been 2 or 3 other instances that could have either been given as penalties or given as free kicks or the opposite way, because of the fact that there is constant grabbing and pushing in the box during corners still. You can't decide, okay, for one corner a game, this is where we're going to look at when these things are happening. Like, what it either has to be you're checking all of it or you're checking none of it. You can't set this imaginary boundary of, oh, because Bassi happened to have thrown Mount to the floor because they were grappling a little bit too much, that's where you draw the line. No, that was happening in all of the other corners as well. There's a corner where no one mentions it, where Berge had the opportunity to win a header and he was being grappled, and because he doesn't fall to his feet, no one bats an eyelid, or it's even any of the discussion points. So like, it's the inconsistency of all of it that is winding people up, and of course it comes from a referee that's shown inconsistency, especially in this fixture in the past.
For me, yes, Calvin Bassey has fouled Mason Mount, right? He has. You can't throw a player to the floor in the manner that he does. But there's three things around it for me that are more than contentious, and they show a bias towards a decision that we saw. One being obviously that while Mason Mount and Calvin Bassey are wrestling, Luke Shaw is trying to enter Rodrigo Muniz behind him. You cannot tell me that Calvin Bassey's found Mason Mount, but Luke Shaw hasn't found Rodrigo Muniz. If you look at it as well, Luke Shaw starts his action towards Muniz before Bassey starts his action against Mason Mount. So if one's a foul, the other one's a foul, you go with the one that started first. It's a free kick to us, not a penalty to Man United. Secondly, if you look at the view, if you look at if anyone watched Match of the Day last night, they did some really great analysis on this, on the Man United corners and what they were doing. But the whole point of Mason Mount and Luke Shaw in that box for that corner is to create space for one of the other Man United players to have a free header on the ball. So their intention isn't there to win the ball anyway, as proven by further corners coming up later on when they're just trying to clear space, they're trying to make a nuisance of themselves so that, you know, either Casemiro or Lenny Yoro is there to have a header. If you look at the picture from behind Luke Shaw, so from the Riverside stand, you can see that both Luke Shaw and Mason Mount have a hold of their player before the Fulham player does anything. So before Bassey touches Mason Mount's already grabbed the back of Bassey's shirt. That's a foul. How is that not given? You know, there's frustrations and stuff that's going on and decisions being given. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to give grappling in the box, we're going to have 4 or 5 penalties a game. Yes, we will. But only if the referees are consistently doing it during the game. And as proven yesterday from many corners where there was loads of grappling on both sides for both things, they looked at it once and once only during the whole game. And that's the one where the ref decides to give it. Is it contentious that it's Man United and they tend to get decisions like this more than any other team? Not shocking. It's not shocking at all. Is it contentious that it's Fulham that it's given against? Again, not shocking at all. You know, we're probably the fan base that will make the least amount of noise and cause the least amount of trouble for it. But I am quite happy with the fact that some of the media have picked up on the inconsistencies, unless you're listening to Sky commentary and Gary Neville pretending that he's on the fence, not solely wearing his Man United underpants while watching a game. You know, it's one of those things, right? That it's frustrating. Drew, let's break down the Man United goal, right? Now, for me, it's poor defending in the box by Fulham. There was too many Man United players that were free anyway. But Lenny Yoro has very clearly two-hand pushed Calvin Bassey in the back. Just because Calvin Bassey hasn't gone down like he's been shot, it's still a foul. He still hit the deck because he's been pushed because he couldn't jump. He couldn't lead into what would have been his space to win the ball. How do you expect? How can anyone sort of justify that not being a foul, other than Chris Kavanagh and it being given like it was?
I was level with it, literally. I had a bad feeling about it when the ball was coming in, because what concerned me before we even get to that was the proximity to the actual goal. I couldn't understand why Leno didn't make a challenge. It was close enough for him to have a good run and punch that ball away. That's before we even get to the whole Euro Bassi incident. I think, and I fully appreciate Leno saved us in the first half, because without him, arguably, we'd have been 2 or 3 down. But that cross was close enough to him, in my view, for him to, and bear in mind, he's not a small boy, to punch that ball away. So he should have been more assertive at that point. You can't say anything about the actual goal. First things first, it was a clear push on Bassi. Everyone, I mean, I see, you know, feeble-minded United fans. I mean, is there any other type saying, "Oh, Bassi's a strong lad"? I mean, he should have, you know, he should have held firm. If you are standing there, anyone, if you are standing there, and someone who's about 6'3" comes up behind you and pushes you when you're not expecting it, you're going to go forward. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. If Euro had pushed Bassi when Bassi was facing him, Bassi could have seen it coming and would have tensed himself. It's common sense. Yeah, you can defend against the attack you can see. It's called being blindsided. I mean, what's so difficult for United fans to understand about this is beyond me. It really is. I mean, you know, they're pointing to the fact that Bassi came out afterwards and said, "Well, I'm a strong lad." And they're saying, "Well, he's a strong lad." Yeah. I mean, but like I said, if you push on someone from behind and they're not expecting it, I mean, United fans don't understand football, so they're not going to understand physics. I mean, it was a clear foul. I mean, it was a clear foul. And what's really galling, and this is where United get a double dose of luck, it wasn't even going in. It was not even going in. It hit Muniz and it completely wrong-footed Leno. Yeah, so they got lucky twice in the same passage of play. But I mean, as we said at the opening of the show, overall, a draw was probably a fair result. But it's United again, isn't it? And they're luck against us. I mean, the fact that this has been the first time, as I've said, we've taken a point out of 27 available against them at the Cottage. I mean, I said last night on Twitter, one day their luck is going to run out against Fulham, and I just hope I'm there to see it, because we absolutely owe them a proper kicking. I mean, the goal was ridiculous, and as already been pointed out by the boys, it's just a consistency. Yeah, I mean, when and Ash, you're in the Hammersmith then, mates. I fully accept you probably, and the boys that are watching on TV, the penalty incident. I was down the other end. Okay, I was sitting in the Riverside towards the United fans. When that VAR decision came up, with God as my witness, I had no idea what it was about. Even the United players seemed confused. I swear, people around me were asking, what's going on? Because no one appealed for it. They can see that and analyse that like 2-3 minutes after the incident. But my understanding is every goal is automatically reviewable. Yeah, that's the laws of the game. Every goal is automatically reviewable. So what the hell were they watching? What the hell were they watching? And the boys have already said it's a consistency. So I'm saying nothing the boys already haven't, but it was just nonsense. But as soon as the ball went in, you know, when you get that vibe, you're looking at it, you're thinking, this is going to be bad for us. I know it's going to be bad for us. I didn't realize it was going to be that bad, you know, but I knew it was going to be bad. But yeah, takeaways. Leno should have come for it. Euro clearly fouled Bassi, and United got lucky with the deflection. I mean, they had all the luck on that passage of play. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, it's frustrating, obviously, when you break it down and some of the stuff that happened, some of the stuff we did do and shouldn't have done. You know, from the goal though, from going 1-0 down, the reaction from Fulham I thought was really, really good. You know, I know that Amarin was after the game talking about as soon as United went 1-0 up, there was a mentality switch from them, and it became about holding on, not about trying to take the lead. But I thought Fulham played really, really well. I thought yesterday we were having a lot of luck getting over the top and around the back. I thought that, especially once a couple of substitutions have been made, that we were having an awful lot of luck on the wing, especially with Wilson and Castagna, to his credit as well, before he went off, was having an awful lot of luck. getting around the back and getting in and behind. The problem is, and it's the same problem we've had for ages, and it really hit its head again, is that we are terrible at getting the ball in the box. Like there was so many instances yesterday where we'd get into the box and just not put a ball in, or it'd be the same just sort of hit and hope, just loopy cross in that's not aiming for anyone, and that's a bit frustrating. Carl, you spoke about this last week after the Brighton game about having the inability to get the ball in the box. Something's got to change, right? We're gonna start turning these draws into wins and winning games like this, right? Especially when we play against teams that are going to be way more defensive than Man United were. We're going to have to get an awful lot better at putting the ball in the box.
Yeah, so personally, I'm going to say that we should just go back to putting a left footer on the left wing, right footer on the right wing. Because, Castagna yesterday got a couple of balls in the box, but we didn't have many players in there to try and attack it. But Harry Wilson, when he's played on the left or he cuts in on the right, he can put a delivery in. But again, not enough players in the box. So we're running down the wing. Just an analysis. They're running down the wing. A left footer cuts in. Our players are running in the box. By the time the ball comes in, they're offside. So they've got to regroup. But we don't get enough balls in the box. Apart from when Raul come on, pick the ball in the box to Smith Rowe, who scored a goal. It's proven that it can happen. It works. So why do we not do it more often? Is it the way that Silva don't play? Like, I ain't got the answers to it.
Yeah, I think that crossing in the box has been a weakness of us for ages. But Matt, you could really tell a difference in our impetus in the game, right? As soon as the subs are made and we have Wilson on one wing and Robertson on the other wing, we look way more dangerous going forward. We can talk about Ryan Sessegnon and the fact he's not a left back until our faces turn blue, and God knows we have done. You can tell there's a real, especially from Sess when he's playing. He doesn't want to push forward because he knows if he does, he can't get back. And he knows he can't get back, so he doesn't push forward, which is a shame because we all know that's the best part of his game is going forward. Whereas Robinson will bomb up and down that wing all day long, especially when he's coming as a sub in the 70th minute or wherever it is. But as Carl just said, when you have people that are naturally on their wing, you can really tell the difference, especially with the intent to get the ball in the box and run at players. And I thought that, I hope you agree that really changed as soon as Robertson and Wilson came on. Like, what are your thoughts there about sort of trying to keep up that momentum, especially when you know you're doing something in a game that's cutting through?
It's trying to keep that up with players that we've got injured and hopefully that won't be injured for much longer. The way around it with Sess would be you can have him bombing up that wing. You just need to have it. So one of the DMs drops in, centre back pushes out to cover for him. Yes, it gives us one less man up top, but it then gives him the option to go. And he'll be able to get back. He might not be able to get back in time, but he'll always be covered. Having our players that are situated where they are is good. Like having Robinson where he can go up and down and up and down and up and down, and then giving Harry Wilson that freedom on the right hand side where he can go up, he can come back if he needs to a little bit to help out in defence, but mainly up there. It gives us the dexterity to get the ball into the box. We just need to have people in the box by the end of it. It's very frustrating as a Fulham fan to have the players that we have that can get the crosses in, but we don't have the players to get the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is. Look, lads, we're going to finish this match review how we always do. Man of the matches and honourable mentions. Drew, I'll start with you, mate. Give us a couple of honourable mentions and your man of the match in the game yesterday, please.
Honourable mentions. I thought Anderson was quietly effective. He did seem to put his head on everything. I thought obviously the substitutes, you've got to talk about them. I mean, one thing that Kyle talked about Muniz being his pick or one to watch, and I can understand why. But the one thing that separates one of the key differences between Raul and Muniz is Raul's football intelligence. He ran down the side of the centre backs, which caused United all sorts of problems. And the boys have already talked about the fact that we should have used more width because United couldn't handle crosses. And every time we had the ball, they dropped into a back five, which left them light in midfield, which is what Silva was talking about after the game because he was overloading there too. Raul showed the football intelligence. It comes through experience that Muniz lacks. Smith Rowe, he's had a rough ride, but he does look a better player. He looks more physically confident, and it was really quite striking. Josh King, he's just people are going to be paying to watch him alone. The boy can turn on a sixpence. I know it didn't quite happen for him yesterday, but he's a real talent. And with younger legs around him and people to run on ahead of him, he could be something special. But in terms of man of the match, Leno, first 20 minutes was keeping us in it. He was brilliant. But I'm going to go for Calvin, simply because Calvin was at the centre of everything. And he is just a different class at the back. He really is. He's strong. He's brave. He provides leadership. So yeah, Calvin's my pick.
Yeah, and he's really good at throwing ex-Chelsea players to the ground, which is always a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't say that because that sounded a bit harsh.
Matt, how about yourself, mate? A couple of honourable mentions and your man of the match, please.
Honourable mentions. It's ESR has to be in that. He's definitely stepped up from last season. And all the subs, every single sub that came on worked hard. It's hard to pick like one sole man of the match for this, but I'm probably gonna have to go with Castagna, considering that he was out of position. Yes, he may not have had the best game, but he done well considering he was out of position.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. I think that that United front five, front six is actually really, really good. I thought he held his own. Yes, as you say, he playing on the wrong wing for him. He has had experience playing on both of those sort of wing back positions, so it's not that shocking. But he did all right. AJ, how about yourself, mate? Give us some honourable mentions in your man of the match, please.
Some honourable mentions. I'll start with probably one of the most obvious ones in terms of pure numbers. It was Kenny Tete. His game by numbers was just ridiculous. There's a post going around somewhere about it. I'm sure we can share it. I'll share via my socials, so if anyone's following can go and find it. But he was just tremendous. Henderson, as well, as Drew alluded to, had a very quietly confident game. Can't fault him there. I'll give a little shout out to ESR. He came on, he did what he needed to do. He made the runs into space. He got fortunate with Iwobi once again, just lobbing a ball into random no man's land. But he predicted Iwobi to do that, which, credit to him, shows great footballing intelligence. He read it well and scored a goal because of it, so I can't fault him. If he carries on having that level of football intellect, he might actually be a player to watch. But my man of the match for the game is one that probably no one else will pick, and the reason I'm wearing my Serbia Lukic shirt today is the man, Lukic. I think he absolutely helped run that midfield into the ground. And first 20 minutes aside, where United looked strong, we completely commanded that midfield by overloading it, and Lukic had a perfect game as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. Lukic is a great shot, actually. Carl, how about yourself, mate? A couple of honourable mentions and a man of the match, please.
There could be many honourable mentions, but Castagna playing right wing done very good for me. Like out of position again, a right footer putting the ball in the box. Not his fault that we didn't have players in the box to get on the end of it. Sorry. Another one is Alex Iwobi. We had a chat about him in our group chat. From my perspective, he had a really good game. Played in a few different positions, controlled the midfield when he needed to, played it simple when he needed to, and calmed the game down. But my man of the match, when he come on, changed the game, looked very lively. And like Drew said, he looks very fit, and I think he's going to be very important for us. My man of the match is Smith Rowe.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shot. For me, honourable mentions, there's not many that you guys haven't spoken about. Leno, outstanding. I thought he was brilliant last week against Brighton. If it wasn't for him, we were 3-0 down after 15 minutes yesterday. All of the defence did really, really well, considering that Man United front six is really impressive. They've got a very good front six, and I thought we did well defensively. There's one or two moments where we were a bit questioning a bit. Anderson had a decent game. The one thing he didn't do well was that moment where Cunha managed to take the ball down because he misread it, and Leno did an outstanding save. But for me, the two players that really deserve a lot of attention from yesterday's game, when you look at it, were without doubt Calvin Bassey. He did a really good job throughout the game. Yes, he got a bit unlucky with the penalty incident and then getting fouled for when Man United scored. It was nice to see him wearing his shorts around his waist. That was good. He played really well. But for me, man of the match is Sasha Lukic. I don't think Sander Berg had a great game yesterday. I think Sanderberg was really behind play an awful lot, and Lukic was having to cover an awful lot of that space, but he still managed to get his own game in. He was drawing fouls, he was drawing free kicks. He did what he always does, and he takes one of those yellow cards that's for the team when Man United broke away at the end. It's a selfless performance by him yesterday. And one of the things that I like most about Sasha Lukic is he's not the type of player that looks to be, I want my name up in lights. I want to be the main man. He just does his job quietly. And, I was very pleased with the way he played yesterday, considering that he had two of probably the harder players in the league to have to deal with in the centre of the pitch. So for me, he's my man of the match. Sasha Lukic I thought was outstanding yesterday, and I proved that on Twitter last night when Man United fans were like breaking down the game and who should be man in the match after Sky asked. And there was an awful lot of words for none of them saying Sasha Lukic because he was outstanding. So we'll leave it there. Lads, thanks very much for joining me on this review. We're very lucky because we managed to get up early on this bank holiday Monday. That this is good. This will be out this afternoon rather than on Tuesday morning, and then we'll have our Bristol review out on Tuesday, ready for the game on Wednesday. Keep an eye out on the channel over the next week. The Fulham Women's Show will be starting in the next 2 weeks. They are setting themselves up to go. We apologise that it hasn't quite got out before the season started, but as we spoke about in a couple of weeks ago, they were keen to make sure that they were given a good product, just not any product, so it was out covering them. So that will start soon. Other than that, there's not really much to say, really, other than come on, you Whites.